We think we know the story. We see the pictures, the man on stage, the gold-laced suit, then the white jumpsuit, the sweat on his brow, the screaming crowds, the sneer of the lip and the shake of the hips. He was a force of nature, a cultural earthquake. He changed music. He changed everything. That's the story we're told. It's the story that sells posters and compilation, the king. But that wasn't the whole story. It wasn't even the most important part of the story to him. Not after she was born, there was another man. The one who came home after the shows. The one who shut the gates of his Memphis home and left the world outside. Inside those walls, he wasn't the king. He was just a father, and he had a daughter, his little girl. She was the center of his universe. Everything he did, every show he performed, every dollar he earned, it was all in the end for her. To give her the world he never had. To build a fortress of love and safety around her. And in that fortress, in the quiet of the night, long after the staff had gone home and the house was still, a different kind of performance would take place. Not for millions on television, not for a sold-out crowd in Vegas. This was a command performance for an audience of one. His daughter, tucked into her bed. The question that echoes down through the years is about a specific song. A famous song, one of his most famous, a gentle ballad that stood in stark contrast to the rock and roll that made him a star. The story goes that he would sing this song to her, that it was her lullaby, her special song from her daddy. Is that story true? Did this public anthem of love become a private whisper in a little girl's bedroom? To understand the answer, you have to understand the man, and you have to understand the father. Before she came along, his life was a whirlwind. He was shot out of a cannon from Tupelo, Mississippi. A poor kid who dreamed of being a truck driver. Then he walked into a recording studio to make a record for his mother, and the world tilted on its axis. Nothing was ever the same again, for him or for us. The fame was immense, it was suffocating. He was the most famous man on the planet. He couldn't walk down the street. He couldn't go to a movie. He lived in a gilded cage, surrounded by friends and employees, but often profoundly alone. He bought a big house on a hill, a place to escape. It became his sanctuary. But a sanctuary can still be an empty place. He had everything a man could want. Cars, money, adoration. But there was a piece missing, a sense of normalcy. A sense of purpose beyond the next record or the next movie. Then he married. And soon after, his wife Priscilla was expecting. The news changed him. The idea of becoming a father grounded him in a way that fame never could. Suddenly, the future wasn't just about his career. It was about a child. His child. He was nervous, he was excited, he was terrified, he pored over baby books. He talked about the baby constantly. This was real. More real than any chart-topping hit. When Lisa Marie was born in February of 1968, his world found its true center. He held her in his arms and, by all accounts, was completely overcome. This tiny person was his. His blood, his legacy, all the love he had, all the protection he could offer, it was all for her. He nicknamed her Isa. He doted on her from the moment she came home. That home, his Graceland, became her kingdom. For the world, it was a rock and roll landmark. For her, it was just home. A sprawling, magical playground. She had her own golf cart to zip around the grounds. There were horses in the stables. There were chimpanzees and peacocks. It was a child's fantasy land created by a father who was still a big kid himself. He never wanted her to feel the poverty or the struggle he had known. He wanted her life to be perfect. He wasn't a conventional father. His hours were upside down. He slept most of the day and came alive at night. That's when the house would buzz with energy. He'd watch movies, play music, and entertain his friends. And his daughter was often right there with him, the little princess in this nocturnal court. He would spoil her rotten. If she wanted something, she got it. He once flew her on his private jet to Idaho just so she could play in the snow for a few minutes, then flew her right back home. He bought her a mink coat. He showered her with jewelry. Some might see it as excessive, but it came from a place of pure, unadulterated love. He was trying to give her a childhood that was secure and magical. He was trying to make up for his own absences, for the times he had to go on tour or film a movie. He was trying to pack a lifetime of fatherhood into the moments he had. But the gifts were not the most important thing. The most valuable things he gave her were the quiet moments. The times when the entourage faded away and it was just him and her. Just a dad and his little girl. This is where the song comes in. Imagine the scene. The big house is quiet, the Memphis night is dark outside, in a little girl's room decorated to her every whim, a single lamp is on. The king of rock and roll, the man who could make tens of thousands of people scream with a single move, is sitting on the edge of the bed. He's not in a jumpsuit, he's in his pajamas or a robe. His hair isn't perfectly coiffed for the stage. He's just a dad, and he sings. His voice is not the powerful stadium-filling instrument the world knew. It's soft, it's a whisper, a gentle hum. He sings a song that the whole world knows. They'd heard it in a movie. They'd bought the single by the millions. For them, it was a song of romantic love, and a plea from a young man to his sweetheart. But in this room, the words change. They take on a new meaning, a deeper meaning, a father's promise to his child. The melody is simple, almost like a folk song. It's easy to hum, it's calming. The lyrics are a vow, a declaration of unconditional love. They speak of a love that is true and sweet. A love that has made a life complete, a love that will last forever. Think about a father singing those words to his daughter. You have made my life complete. In that moment, he wasn't singing to a romantic partner. He was singing his deepest truth to his child. She was the one who had filled the empty spaces in his life. She was the one who gave his chaotic world a reason. Never let me go, it's a plea. The plea of a parent who knows that one day their child will grow up. The plea of a man who lives in a world of temporary things, of fleeting fame and fair weather friends, holding on to the one permanent, real thing in his life, his daughter. For my darling, I love you and I always will. The ultimate promise. Not for a movie script, not for a B-side. This was a promise from his soul. Priscilla has spoken about these moments. She was a witness. She saw the tough public idol melt when he was with his daughter. She confirmed that this wasn't just a myth, it was real. He would sing to Lisa Marie. And this particular song was a favorite. It was his go-to. The melody was perfect for a lullaby. The sentiment was a perfect expression of his feelings. It was their ritual, where Lisa Marie herself remembered it. Her memories of her father were a jumble of the fantastic and the intimate, as a child's memories often are. She remembered the chaos of his life, the constant stream of people, the excitement. But she also remembered these quiet moments. She remembered him being just daddy. She remembered feeling completely and utterly safe with him. His presence was a shield against the world. And his voice was the sound of that safety. She spoke of how he would tuck her in and sing to her. That song was part of the fabric of her earliest memories. It was a thread connecting her to him. A private sound in a very public life. For the rest of the world, that song belonged to everyone. It was played at weddings and on oldies radio stations. It was a piece of pop culture. But for her, it was a whisper in the dark. It was the sound of her father's love, meant only for her. It's fascinating to consider why he chose this specific song out of his vast catalog. He had dozens of ballads, but this one was different. It had a purity to it. The song itself had an interesting history. It wasn't an original rock and roll tune. The melody was much older. It was based on a sentimental Civil War ballad called Ora Leye. The tune had a timeless, classic quality. It felt like it had always existed. When Elvis was set to star in his first movie in 1956, a Western, the studio needed a theme song. They took the old Aurelia melody and had new lyrics written for it. The recording session was simple. It wasn't a raucous rockabilly session with slapping bass and electric guitars. It was just Elvis and his acoustic guitar backed by a few other musicians. His performance was restrained, tender, and incredibly vulnerable. It was a side of him the public hadn't really seen before. They knew the swagger. They didn't know the softness. The song became a monster hit. It went to #1 even before the movie was released. It sold millions of copies. It showed his incredible range and his ability to convey deep emotion. It cemented his status not just as a rocker, but as a complete artist. It became one of his signature songs, a staple of his concerts for the rest of his life. But the song's public success is what makes its private use so poignant. He took this thing that he had shared with the entire world and he reclaimed it. He made it small again, he made it personal, he transformed a commercial product into a sacred fatherly ritual. In that bedroom, he wasn't performing a hit single. He was communicating his deepest feelings in the most direct way he knew how, through song. This ritual wasn't a one-time thing, it was a consistent part of her early childhood. When he was home, this was part of the bedtime routine. It was a moment of connection that was just for them. It was a way for him to express the love that he felt, a love so big it was probably hard for him to put into ordinary words. He was a man who was often shy and reserved in his personal life, despite his explosive stage persona. Music was his language, it was how he connected with people, it was how he said what was truly in his heart. And what was in his heart for his daughter was a fierce, protective, all-consuming love. He saw her as a part of himself. He saw his own mother's eyes in her. He saw a chance to do things right, to provide a stable, loving home that was so different from his own humble beginnings. The years passed, life got more complicated, his marriage to Priscilla ended. Lisa Marie would split her time between her mother's home in California and her father's home in Memphis. But his devotion to her never wavered. His home was always her home. His world still revolved around her visits. The time they had together became even more precious. The lullabies may have faded as she grew out of early childhood, but the sentiment behind them, the promise of the song, remained. He was her dad, he would always love her, then he was gone, suddenly, tragically. He died when Lisa Marie was only 9 years old. Her world was shattered, the shield was gone. The safe fortress he had built for her was breached. She had to grow up with the world watching, forever the daughter of the king. But she had the memories, and she had the music. Think of what that song must have meant to her after he was gone. It must have been both a comfort and a source of incredible pain. A reminder of what she had and what she had lost. The world would play the song, and they would hear a classic love ballad. She would hear it, and she would be a little girl again in her bedroom in Graceland, with her father's voice washing over her in the dark. A voice that promised to love her tender, love her sweet, and to never let her go. A promise that death itself could not break. The legacy of that lullaby is a powerful one. It's more than just a sweet anecdote. It's a key. It's a key that unlocks the door to the real man, the man behind the myth. It shows us that the greatest love in his life wasn't the adoration of millions of fans. It was the love he felt for his daughter. It humanizes him completely. It strips away the legend and shows us a father pure and simple. A father using his incredible gift not for fame or for money, but for the simple, universal purpose of comforting his child and telling her she is loved. The world is full of stories about him. Some are true, some are exaggerated, some are pure fantasy. But the story of the lullaby, the story of him sitting on his daughter's bed and seeing her to sleep, feels like the truest story of all. It's a story confirmed by his wife and remembered by his daughter. It's a story that fits perfectly with everything we know about his devotion to her. So, was this famous song the one he would sing to Lisa Marie as a lullaby? Yes, it was. It was their special song, a public declaration of love, repurposed into the most private and tender of moments. A song that promised a love that would never end. A promise from a father to his daughter, sung softly in the quiet of a Memphis night. The song was Love Me Tender.